Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 210th episode of Book of Hours Playing as the Artist. I'm System Chalk, and I'm really curious what's waiting for us in about a minute of gameplay. So we basically got a bit of a tip from Tower Rises and Tower Falls in terms of something that I should be checking out. In the meantime, I've been opening up packages. We're waiting on a new film, Elsie Bischoff's final film, and we have committed a few things to the Tree of Wisdoms. The other thing that I've been trying, which has worked rather well for me, is just to constantly use my metal in the Sweet Bones. We have enough elements of the soul now where we can just kind of crank out money. There's actually very little point in doing that right now, too, just because what am I going to use the money for? I've noticed actually that the House of Light early beta has done a good job of answering that question for me. Just because, I actually really get into sort of preparing the food for the salon. And so, as a result, I'm constantly doing orders to like Cater and Hero and all of that in terms of, just and TRN to get all the goodies. But we're not in that wonderful DLC yet. So we are going to focus on our current run. So let's unpause and see where all this goes. Ship lost this. Forsaken packages. They plead mutely to be open. No one else ever cared to. Something odd. Crack open the container. Delight in your discovery. Pilchards. Pickle them alone. Pickle them alone, or they're pretty good on toast. Don't spill it. All right, so this is to replace the U-Gall that I used in the other area. Ooh, all right. I recall how in sleep I heard the changelings carven churrings. I recall how in sleep I curled my fingers into the forms I found. I recall how in sleep I scratched the signs of secrets spoken to my other self. Here I hold them in my hands. Oh, the writing on the wall. The most delicious tradition of the Carapace Cross, as recorded on the walls of the Mansus and transcribed into a book of 99 pages by one known only as CC. Although this book does not exist, it is read to a sleeper under certain very specific circumstances, and certain fragments jotted down on waking. This book houses a numen, a truth so powerful it can perhaps believe itself. 8 tally price, 10 mystery nectar, written in Vac, readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. It's a thing. The gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is a servant to things. Dawn period, 599 AD, is the traditional date of the first foundation here, sometimes called the Abbey of the Black Dove, sometimes the Abbey of the White Crow, but the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot first built their temples here much earlier than that. And spices and savors, there is no sacrifice without sustenance. Okay, so we did actually find a numen. Feels weird to put this on the side, but where else do I keep it? We'll take the tea. Huh. Okay, actually it doesn't look so bad if it's... I was just thinking the little, like, thing on the top. Obviously we are reading this. I think I finally am at the end of my search for... At least of the ones... So as far as the ones that I'm like, there's definitely something here. I think that's it. I also think I've used up all my good nectar. Okay, well, we'll leave that aside. I want to read Wrapped in the King anyway to get the... Earth sign back. So this is two Newman that we have not yet read yet. One of them is behind Hyksos. Okay, fixing and mending. There's not much work on offer in Brownkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Now, another thing that might be worth thinking about here is what elements of the soul do I, or what, sorry, what skills do I need to level up here? So if we're getting... actually, I can do this for both of them. So Experiment Beyond Sight, we're getting Edict's Liminal. Edict's Inviolable. So that's Moon and Heart. I'm just going to open a note on my PC, so... Spices and Savors is Forge and Nectar. So what I would like to do is think of the ones that involve like the biggest movement. So the ones that are sort of going up to 9. So actually a great example here would be Weaving and Knotworking, which we need to take from 7 to 9. Another one would be Strings and Songs, which needs to go from 5 to 8. But I think Weaving and Knotworking is the one I'm going to start with because we can use Edict's Inviolable for that. It may also be worth... this is a tough one, actually, because I was thinking Serpents and Venoms might make some sense as well, given that opening up Serpents and Venoms helps me open up Hushery, but Hushery is actually going to have a bunch of level ups. In fact, Aronoscopy is a particularly tough one from 3 to 7. So what I really want to do here is I want to focus on the ones that will involve the largest number of memories, because that's going to be the thing that's most difficult during Pneuma. So if I can make it so that something like getting Weaving and Knotworking from 7 to 9 and Strings and Songs from 5 to 8, if I can get those out of the way before Pneuma, then doing something like taking Meniscate Reflections from 3 to 5 is not necessarily easy, but it's not the same kind of challenge like taking Weaving and Knotworking from 7 to 9. And we have enough time in the season to be able to manage both, I think. So, all right, this is exciting. Pluck the grapes from the vine. Oops. I'm running out of space. Domain Reveline. Okay, not the thing that I want, but I'll get over it. We had a wine cellar here somewhere. Sure. Okay, nothing to look at right now, so... Investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. I think we're also at a point here where I can afford to rebalance the elements. I think it's pretty clear in terms of what we're going to spend our time with. Okay, Orflams thanks you for your custom. Experiment beyond sight, Ilse Bischoff's bewildering, widely derided final film. We're going to watch this right away. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to watch this right away. I'm going to save both that and the Newman. It's just because I don't have that much. I'm going to need a lot of memories to... I'm going to need a lot of memories to be able to level all this stuff up. We don't have that much time left in the... Well, okay, weaving and not working. If it's 7, I need 7... 7 heart and moth, and we have a cloudy day, so I really just need 6. That's not actually that hard for me to do. So you're not changing my mind. So that's 1. Two. Three. This is all foresight, huh? Four. I feel like I'm missing something very obvious. Oh, satisfaction. Five. Storm will be 6. I'm trying to remember the last mothy one for me. I think probably my best bet here is just to try and get a name day riddle. Oh, hang on. Nope, I can't use the clouds in that case. But I can use the sight or the confounding parable. I still don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look this up Mademoiselle. Mademoiselle Matutine, an alluring young woman with deep blue eyes, hard and dark as sapphires. Her teeth are very white. It is hard to be sure, but they seem also to be pointed. So we want to use the Swaddled Thunder in this case. We've red wrapped in the king a lot of times, so I'm going to leave this one aside. And yes, sorry, I don't think I've started actually watching the film yet, so... Right. Alright, let's take... Experiment Beyond Sight. I can master this mystery, enough moon to match mystery moon. Alright, so we should be able to level up Weaving and Not Working to 8. And then take it from there. Sea strewn, salt snared stuff. So again, well actually glass, we don't exactly need it. If I can fit it on a shelf. Nope. Into the sea with you. When something is given to the sea, it rarely returns, although of course I did. The thread parts, the weave is empty, the skies cry out. Okay, so that's the first of several memories that I want. Let's use my whist to keep investigating objects. So we've already done the flood gallery, we've already kind of gone all the way up, which means we head back to the garden. We move up, no art to check here, but there is art in this room. So the refectory, and we'll start by examining the Mask Watch clock. Doesn't quite count as art, but there we go. Investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. Okay, lots of things to follow up on. Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials. In the original myth, Marsyas lost the musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles, and is later smuggled to Phrygia, where the priestesses of Cybele use it for a drum. At the climax, the striking of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestesses to suicidal madness. The opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestess on the beauty of mountain pines. Traveling at... Let's do Volume 1 so we can read them in order. Traveling at Night, Volume 1, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Lopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. The wood lies outside the walls of the mansis. As any student of the histories knows, the mansis has no walls. Alopoli describes how he came to make repeated visits to a dream wood via what he calls silver dreams. Trying to think your way to the wood, he explains, is like thinking your way to being in love, but I did find a secret that helped. In Volume 2, there is an extensive discussion of the comparisons between Alopoli's own dreams and those of the Emperor Elagabalus, who Alopoli regards as a dupe or avatar of the sun in rags. The white is west of the world, Alopoli remarks, and winter does not wait forever. Elagabalus found his way to the White Door at last, thankfully. Speech can't pass the White Door, and honestly, Elagabalus never had anything very interesting to say. I tried to follow in his footsteps, but I never learnt enough of the white. I suppose I'm thankful for that too. But here's what I do know. The Berry Book. There's a Blake, 7th librarian of Hush House, talks about fruit for no other apparent reason than it was the kind of thing that she did. She talks about fruit in the woven language Kilisimi. Who was it once said, fruit is the womb of a plant? It was me. Take a few moments to think on that enripened wisdom. I shall leave a blank space for your moments here in this page. Nectar, children mine, cast my words into a sufficiency of nectar and watch the Pyracemus burst from wood. Gather more nectar, wring it from the trees in the earth, and our Pyracemus gushes forth the sacrament. You will thank me. So that is the sacrament malachite recipe. And the instruments of the heart. Sister Isabel, then precentress of the Abbey Church of St. Brendan's, engages in dialogues with the heart-long of a kind called Dwendrazon that has taken partial possession of her body. And of course, we had reference to Dwendrazon earlier. The Dwendrazon, like all its kind, usually dwells in the mansis, but can enter the physical world by manifesting as music and take possession of a willing or semi-willing mortal who hears and loves that music, like Isabella. Isabella records her dreams of the High Mansis, where she is accorded the Dwendrazon status and titles. In return, the Dwendrazon enjoys what it calls a caesura, a welcome oblivion. Our mostly blessing is that we may never cease, except in caesurae. There is something more that Isabella refers to as the caesura magna, but she laments that her Dwendrazon will not tell her exactly what that might be. Okay, so we're not ready to level the skill up yet, but Mask Watch Clock, reputedly crafted for the Mask of Masks during the Great Writhing. A handle that looks like a pull repeat to strike the hour again produces only a discouraging rustling sound. Okay, we already had looked at the portrait of a behatted lady, but we will look at the hatching. Is this a way to the wood? But perhaps the wood is not a suitable place for a librarian. A deceptively intricate riddle that might just teach us who we really are. I think it's actually Gervinus Van Loren was notoriously fond of these. Or possibly Gervinus or Gervinus? The hatching human figures crawl from a clamshell. Signed, Nina Lagasse. I wondered if this was another Lagasse painting, so I will talk about that later. All right. Waiting on the film to stop running. So I'll stay past the portrait of the behatted lady. Now, this is kind of a tricky one. Do these count as wall art or not? I think in this case, I'm going to say the first threshold will count. And then we'll sort of move up, and then we'll take care of the items on the wall in a future pass. Investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Okay, another package. Here we go. The experiment beyond sight, Ilse Bischof's bewildering, widely derided final film. The film is an unrelenting fusillade of apparently unrelated images: birth, mirrors, grain threshers, animal attacks, crowds at stations. But a single image appears again and again, dominating the rush of images until the film is only one single static shot. The repeating image is a view through a grimy window pane of a nearby tower. There's a vague impression of flickering light around the tower top. Just as the film ends, smoke plumes from the tower. That's it. Nothing of note at all, unless one happens to recognize the view of the Crucible Tower from the window of the librarian's quarters. and unless one happens to know that Ilse Bischoff never visited Brandkrug or even Britain before her untimely death. Edicts inviolable, the precepts and occlusion and dissolution, their jealous enforcement is the nature of Calyptra. Okay, so as I said, we're going to push this on not working, weaving and not working. At the end, we should have this up to level 9. I'm going to need to wait 4.8 seconds before I do that. First threshold, a horned double axe stands alone in a sandy desert. Signed, Nina Lagasse. All right, I hope I brought enough memories. So, Edicts Inviolable. We'll throw a Tryst at it. Cloud, Satisfaction, Storms, Impulse, Cheerful Ditty, named... Oh! I did one too many. Hard to complain about that, though. At last, I approach Mastery, improve the skill to level 8. Skill is now level 8. Its power aspects have also increased. So there's no direct benefit to me leveling up, weaving, and not working right now. It's just the fact that I am avoiding a rather painful experience later. Okay. Comb with sea stories. I'll get the... Actually, we'll see what the weather is before I do that. Okay, so same story as before. We're going to get as many heart things as I can. So we're going to need 8 here. One. Four. Five. I think that's it. I feel like I'm missing one. But I don't need to worry about this quite yet. I'm going to see what the weather brings us. Okay, another cloudy day is good. What does not bark? Alexander Props writes warily of Calyptra, a law, principle, or society which prevents the dissemination of dangerous knowledge. Calyptra, like the planet that occludes the star or the Doylean dog that fails to bark, can be identified only by its absence. Even the name, I think, must be a mask. Calyptra is said to make exceptions specifically for the libraries of the Watchman's Tree. Does it make those exceptions so that ours can make use of them? The Orchid Transfiguration's Noon, the third volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is in the original Latin. A long dialogue between the Mountain Mother and the Vigilant Storm describes the ways in which both mountains and storms end, and the protections they use against those ends. But we must use the knife, said the lion-throned one, the noose, the flame, the waking word, against those who have passed the three-valve door, and so none may pass. That is our law and the law of the sun. On Thursley's Ivories and Lovelies, Fiona Ayrshire recounts her visits to in dreams to the Red Church and the Manses, and her conversations with the names of the Grail. An hour, Ayrshire explains, may usually only have 7 names, but since the Thursley's Ivories and Lovelies, who usually comprise the Red Grail's names, are constantly attempting to devour one another and the names of other hours, that number fluctuates. Lovelies, the freshest of the Grail's names, usually adopt the characteristics of whatever they devour, be it an Ivory, a Thursley, or occasionally an entirely different kind of name. A practical application of the principle is described. The arts of resurgences and emergences in the presence of sufficiently potent Grail aspect can be used to feel a pale Mommet to its successor doll, creating something notably more avid. Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Olopoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Olopoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, "I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me, and good intentions or not, I can no longer bear this dream of eyes. We have agreed to part almost amicably." Olopoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs, and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, In the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of the old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. The Rose Nuriel, a volume of collected teachings of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories, but in some was very powerful indeed. This was recorded by Nuriel and dedicated to St. Tryphon. St. Tryphon, Nuriel explains, performs secret miracles in the name of she who bleeds and bears, and she who opens. Thus St. Tryphon opened the way to the house of the sun. Thus St. Tryphon underwent the great birth and ascension to immortality. St. Tryphon began his ascension by passing the horn door. St. Tryphon continued his ascension by learning the invocation theatic, which Nuriel does not here record on account of its extreme holiness. And Nuriel explains grimly, to achieve the 7 marks of the great birth, St. Tryphon consumed those whose soul had left them, and even those in whom the soul remained. Okay, let's take stock of where we're at in terms of our memories right now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more, so one of those will come from Storm, who threw this overboard. Or possibly, who threw this overboard? So the easy options here, I think, would be a sound. So we only need a minute for this. So one of these is going to be the Swaddled Thunder. And what I'm going to do in anticipation of the consider verb being freed up, I'm going to read our new text. Now this I've never seen before, so I'm really interested in seeing where it goes. It's actually also not that challenging of a text, all things considered. Nectar full flower. I can master this mystery, enough nectar to match mystery nectar. Technically I don't need to use the health here, but why not, right? More mackerel. Eat it while it's fresh or keep it while it's salted. I think I'm just going to use Hush House's key for this. I think this is the more reliable source. Hush House key, heavy enough that it takes both hands to turn, heavy enough to brain someone, though you'd need both hands for that too. Serena Blackwood herself forged this key. I'm tired of losing it, she said. Sound. A memory lasts longer than an echo. Of course, when speech came into the world, we could cast echoes into words. Memory lasts longer than an echo. Of course, when speech came into the world and we could cast echoes into words, things got more complicated. And I do realize I'm a bit over time, so I was going to try and get, so we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, okay, let's complete weaving and not working, and then we can save the rest to... We can see the result of reading the text in the next episode. Wow, I'm actually really over. Sorry about that. Again, thank you everybody for watching. I realize that I've sort of been hammering through the days lately, but this is just because, again, we've sort of finished off all of the various books, and we can only really read one thing at a time. And of course now, because we've got the lessons, I've got just more to do with that consider verb. So as far as progress is concerned, we've sort of finished these parts of the house. I think we'll move on to Self-Born. We'll check up where we can, and then we'll sort of move into the other parts of the house. But again, that will be handled in a future episode. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.